What's going on out there, you wonderful weirdos? I'm Pocan Joe, and as always, you're pretty cool for swinging by. Love having you here. This is my new comic book day haul slash review, short synopsis, however you want to look at that, just to talk about some of the great books that we got out there this last week. A lot of good stuff came out. This was a big haul. That's why this video is coming out late to you. A lot of good independent stuff out there. So without further ado, let's talk about DC. The bad news is I only got 2 DC titles this week because, let's be honest, DC's been slacking. And they seem to be focusing a lot more on a lot of their other titles than their main events going on right now. But first thing, right up off the bat, I got Batman Detective Comics. This was kind of, sort of okay. So we got Deadpool, which the way they illustrated it here is beautiful. And we got Bruce Wayne. They're on a plane. The plane's going down in the Pacific. Will we get some Green Arrow action maybe from that little island he's from? I think that's kind of where they're wanting to take this. What are we dealing with in this? We get more of the Bruce Wayne wants to do more Batman stuff than Wayne Enterprise stuff, and that's very apparent in this. You know, he wants to live the action part of his life more than the business side of his life, so he comes off extremely arrogant in this, and for that I kind of liked it. So this is definitely a good book to read. I'm kind of liking it. The cover has this whole thing with Freeze. He's had a couple of pages at the end of it. That's about it. Apparently he's been able to revive his wife. If you don't know about Dr. Freeze and his wife, I don't know what you've been doing the last few years, but apparently he's trying to revive his wife, and that kind of comes to some sort of thing here at the end of this book. We'll find out more about that in the next issue, I'm sure. Next, Event Leviathan. This is spycraft at its best, right? You got a little bit of espionage going on in here, accusations being flung around. We're looking at possibly we falsely accuse somebody already, but he kind of makes sense of the whole thing. Amanda Waller's on the run. She's hiding. And, of course, he finally finds her, this character named Leviathan. So who is Leviathan? We don't find out in this issue, but we got some good stuff. Even at the end, Superman kind of shows up and wants to have a conversation. I'm liking this because it reads more like a spy thriller than it does a regular comic book, and that's been kind of enjoyable. Some of your second-rate characters like The Question and Plastic Man and several of the other detective type are really involved in this story, and it's kind of made it fun. And then we got Lois Lane running around asking a bunch of questions because she's a reporter, and that's relevant for some reason. We don't know why. But hey, we'll keep pushing that. Moving on. All right, so is it powers of X or is it powers of 10? I don't really care. This is a very extremely convoluted story. The first half of this story basically wants to know about truth. Your truth, their truth, everybody's truth. Truth, truth, truth. And then immediately it goes in the second half of the book into more of a past sense type of situation and future and progression of those things. It's a weird read. I don't know if I like or hate this yet. I don't think it reads like a comic book. I think it would be a great novel, maybe even a good TV show or movie. But this is kind of hard to follow to some degree. And I know people are going to say, well, that's Hickman's writing. That's how Hickman writes. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. What story are you really trying to tell me to keep me engrossed in this? I honestly don't know how much long this House of X and Powers of X thing is going to last for me, unless something actually starts happening in it. So that's where I'm at there. I'm still on the fence, but I don't want to wait all year to do it. Next. As predicted on Blast It or Stash It when we did that show. By the way, Blast It or Stash It, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube, Sunday night. Definitely come check us out. We're going to talk about all these books together. Well, not all. As many as we can fit into an hour. Right? So what do we got here? As predicted on Blast It or Stash It, when we saw the milk carton in a Absolute Carnage or Venom storyline, we saw a milk carton, and it had Donna Diego's missing kind of in the background. I don't even know if they still do that anymore in cartons of milk. And, of course, we get her in this one, reprising her role as a Carnage-type villain called Scream. The art in this is beautiful. Lots of great stuff. It is creepy. It is genuinely a horror story. They're doing really good at that. So yeah, I've been enjoying that. Went with this variant cover right here because it just looked unique. Nothing really major about that. The artwork is great in this, and we get our little witch girl. She's back and back from hell. For what happened in hell, we don't know. It's kind of like she was in some trouble. And it's kind of like a reset button for her. Immediately she goes back there, but she's in this and she's going to be kicking butt. That should be very interesting. And then I rolled right into separation anxiety. We have a family unit of Carnage type characters. Super creepy. This kind of speaks a little deeper than that because at the beginning, there's some family issues. Mom and dad are fighting a lot. The little boy's up in the attic reading comic books, and the little girl's outside crying. Dog comes along. Dog turns out to be a Carnage. And then immediately, the little girl's wishes kind of sort of come true. She just wants a normal family, and they're all, what is it? Stolen by the Carnage Venom series. They're all Carnageized, and they start acting like a regular family, and it is just so creepy. This is one of those situations where it's watch what you wish for. You may just get it. That happens in this, and I thought they did a very good job of that, playing off the motif of your nuclear family type of situation. Really good stuff. Hits on a lot of levels. I think it's relevant. It's just great stuff. Moving on. Fantastic Four. We get the epic battle of Thing and Hulk. And Thing finally beats the Hulk in this. But at what cost? Not karst. Cost shattering his arm. Like, some of the beating he took in here, it was ridiculous. There was actually something underneath those rocks. I didn't know that. So we got some of that in here. And also we get some epic, just savage Hulk at the end of this, where the Hulk kind of shows up and wants to teach Puppet Master a lesson. Does not work out in his favor. Not only does he end up crushing his hands, as we see in this panel, but obviously he does a lot more to him. In other words, don't screw with the big guy. I'm not hearing it. Great story. No real deep meanings in this. There was, I guess, in a cliche-ish way, Ben Grimm's talking about, I can't beat the Hulk. I can't beat the Hulk. I've tried, blah, blah, blah. I can't do it. I can't do it. He's stronger. He's faster, blah, blah, blah. And then his new wife, Miss Alicia, goes, well, just beat him with your heart. And it's kind of tropey, and it was kind of, I don't know, hinky. But if that's what it takes to win, that's what he did, and it worked out. So other than that slightly over-cheese moment, the rest of it was great. Moving on to Amazing Spider-Man. The girls are stepping up. They've created their own gang, and they want to drop Boomerang's body because he's a jerk. That legitimately, that's it. Apparently, he's hit on like 4 of them in the past, and they got a problem with that, and they want to kill him. That's legitimately the major plot point in this. We also get something kind of interesting in this. Our bug lady is apparently in love with Peter Parker's roommate. They're all in that. First off, who opens up their mouth that wide to kiss? Like, seriously, it looked like they're about to unhinge their jaw and swallow each other. It's weird. But we get that storyline kind of going. And you know what? There's some good stuff in here. As weird as it kind of came off in some degree, it was okay at best. It's not one of your amazing. Honestly, this entire issue can be skipped, and you'll pick up on the overarching storyline just fine. Next, my kind of letdown for the week, and I blame it on myself, is Punisher Kill Crew. Punisher is off to War of the Realms. There's a bunch of orphan war babies, children, young adults, whatever you want to call them. And Punisher's going to go avenge their families or whatever. So he like buys them pizza or something. This was not the same Punisher we saw in War of the Realms. This is slightly... And of course they got to get cheesy, like super cheesy with this thing. Because, there's the goat thing that's been hanging around since the War of the Realms. Right? With the chariot. So Punisher gets this idea to hook it up to its van and gonna cruise through the cosmos. Like, I don't know. This one kind of let me down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the second issue just to kind of see if we get that same type of Punisher that we saw in War of the Realms, because that was a very entertaining character. It's very similar to the one in Savage Avengers. It's just good stuff. Definitely want to check out some more of that guy, because that guy was pretty cool. Next, Silver Surfer Black. What do I think about Silver Surfer Black? Well, you ever heard of the story of the lion and the mouse? You know, where the mouse comes out and it pulls out the thorn that's in the lion's paw. That's basically what we're dealing with here. We have Ego, the living planet. He's got something stuck in him that's not doing well for him. It's like a thorn in his side. Silver Surfer goes through to help him out because Ego helped him out. He goes in there and it's something a little different. I want to make sure I get this right. What do they call this cube? It's a cosmic cube of some sort. And it's stuck in his body. That's the best way to put it. So there you go. Right? That's inside Ego's little planet. It's got to come out because it's causing him a lot of uncomfort. Or discomfort, I should say. Not uncomfort. That's not a word. Discomfort. Discomfort. I promise one day I will edit my videos. Alright, moving on. Prodigal Son. I'm liking this Prodigal Son character. In this one, we find out he actually has somewhat of a relationship with the Silver Surfer. And we pick right up from the Fantastic Four event where Prodigal was actually in there as well. I like to play off the names he did here. He's an elemental. He can control elements. He's kind of arrogant and cocky to some degree. So the Fantastic Four left him in space. He's on the moon. We get his backstory about his planet, how his brother wants to do him harm. And then we find out his relationship with the Silver Surfer when Galactus showed up, and there was a big fight. Great stuff going on in here. This is a know your role type story. I'm going to call it that. It's not a real thing, but I'm going to go ahead and call it that because he's learning life lessons that arrogance doesn't work for him. But he is a capable superhero and he is entertaining. I'm definitely picking up more of these. This is good stuff. Next. Oh, yeah. Gwenpool. So the first few pages of this, a lot of pages. First, it's a lot of narrative. And basically, we got Gwenpool here talking to us directly about how she's not really Deadpool, right? Because of all the reasons that make Deadpool Deadpool. Because Deadpool. That's it. SpiderMan shows up. I forgot to mention that. And then we find out that it's all a big time loop thing. Because that's her real super power. And more words and references. And yeah, that's good job. That's it. That's all I got for that one. So let's move on. Loki. Man, I love me some Loki. I like this Loki in here. It is great. It's young, naive, arrogant. He's a trickster. That's the archetype that he uses. The story is him kind of, sort of, maybe wanting to do the right thing, but not wanting to do it in an honest manner, I think is the best way to describe it. And we find out that Eternity is kind of having some fun with him as well. Nightmare's shown up. He's going to be dropping some bodies here soon. It is great. This thing is nothing more than screwing over the next person and kind of being dishonest for the good reasons, right? That's the whole point of the cover, if you look at it. Old Loki versus new Loki, that kind of yin and yang that's going on there, the constant internal struggle. That's what's being laid out to us, but it's being done in such a cool way with no separate or self-deprecating monologue to it. It's great. Now, next is indies, and I mean, that's a lot of indies for this week, but let's run through these. Something I've been enjoying, because it's just a fun read, really. It's this Sharky, and this is Sharky number 5. We get more of the story where they're going to go do the good thing and save the terrorist, right? And of course, there's people trying to stop them. Like, it's your typical comic book sci-fi / story up to that point. But we got the little boy that he's kind of been hanging out with. This thing is nonstop action. Whenever they run into something that probably wouldn't make sense, they throw in the sci-fi. You know, it's the trans inhibitor quantum phase that will make us turn into this to fool everybody. It's just stupid fun. And apparently Netflix has picked it up. So kudos to you guys. I've been enjoying this. It's, again, just a stupid fun read. Definitely check that out. Let's see here. I will say this, though. You do have to pick up 1 through 5. Otherwise, because it's on this long story arc, and it can be kind of, you'll get lost. It's not something you can pick up in the middle of. All right, Black Hammer versus Justice League. I want to like this. I really do, and I'm trying my best, but this is so just out there for me. I don't really know these characters very well. I liked this story. I like where the story's going. 2 different superhero teams have to switch places in their universe. How are they relating? How are they getting along? Justice League action going on. You know, the Black Hammer group's there. And then we got in the Black Hammer world, nothing going on. And the superheroes are losing their minds with boredom. We got Batman, who's going on regular patrols throughout the city. Apparently, this is something he's done for the last 10 years. And the local police are kind of like, seriously, dude, why are you out here on patrol? Go home, because nobody knows he's Spider-Man. Excuse me, we'll have an awkward drink of soda. All right. So that's kind of the cool part about it. Again, I should sit down and read more about the Black Hammer characters. I think that would help make a lot of this make sense. At the end, we find out something about the Immortals and the Immortal group, probably from the Black Hammer universe that we don't really know much about. But we'll get caught up on that very soon. Next, Second Coming, number 2. This, I don't know. Everybody keeps saying it's kind of this stab at religion. I'm not getting that from this book. Basically, what I'm getting from this book is, yeah, it makes a lot of religious references. And a lot of our tropes are the same when you're trying to be a good guy and you do something bad. What is the effect on that? And then we have Jesus, who's kind of hanging out there, just around. He's trying to say things, but he's supposed to be learning things from the superhero. And what we're finding out from the superhero is he's kind of jacked up and jumps to conclusions and makes bad mistakes. We get some interesting things about various takes on religious stories, I guess is the best way to put it. One of the funniest scenes I saw in here was God comes down, and God kind of plays like this aggressive stepfather that's disappointed in his stepson. Like, he really does. It's great. He comes down, grabs our superhero, takes him up to heaven to have a conversation with him. Apparently, if you want to eat in heaven, it's like a giant, I don't know, what do you call the place with all the food and stuff inside of all? Yeah, that place. You got me. He takes him up there. They're sitting down having a talk about how, the world works. And, he's asking the typical questions that any freshman in philosophy would ask, like, if God exists, then why is there, hatred and pain and people dying and yada, 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 right? And he's going over that route with him. And there's this great scene where there's this guy, and they're in the cafeteria, right? And they're in heaven, and he sits down and he starts praying over his food, and God's over there. He's like, I hate it when dude, you are in heaven. Why are you praying? Like, I'm right here. it's great. Just stupid fun. Yeah, it pokes a little bit of fun at religion, but I don't think it's anything satirical or anything like that. Moving on. Now, these next ones are very interesting. These next 4 books. Because one of them I got because I just love the story so far. I got the Reaver number 2. We learn more about our characters. In this one, we find out we define our characters, right? So we got the wildling child that's really good with a weapon, talks kind of backwards like a Yoda. We got this guy. He's a great military leader, and he's kind of smart, but he's like uber arrogant. Then we got the Beast Man, just a big hulking guy that crushes everything. And then we got like the Sergeant, right, who's kind of banding everybody together. And then we got a wizard and its bodyguard. Classic quest story going on here. Good stuff. I like this. Pick up issues 1 and 2 of this. Reaver. This is just a good read. It's kind of like a medieval Suicide Squad. And it works. Like, it legitimately works. It's good stuff. Moving on. Now, these next three I got off of the recommendation of Simple Man Comics. They did their show last week where they were doing a top 10 of hot comic books coming out. And I heard these three, so I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and check them out. Very rarely do I take recommendations from other shows or anything like that because I kind of want to spread the wealth, if you will, because I know a lot of us on here. But I did go ahead and take their advice. The first one was Once and Future. Oh my God, this is going to be a great series. This is good stuff. So basically, we get a snarky Irish grandma who raised a son who played rugby and stuff like that. And I like that concept. She's very harsh and abrupt. And apparently, she used to be a monster hunter, unbeknownst to her grandson, which is awesome. We also get we get a portion of an old story that everybody knows, but nobody really knows, and that's the story of King Arthur in here. Um, so the premise of the story is archaeologist finds a scabbard for a sword, and apparently the sword in historical times for King Arthur would heal wounds and yada yada yada. Eventually, his brother kills him. They actually tell the King Arthur story in here, everything that happens after he built Camelot, which was actually kind of cool. Um, the distinction of the sword Excalibur not being belonging to King Arthur, but actually belonging to the Lady of the Lake. That was great. I love that. I'll eat that up all day long because that's more accurate to the story. But we got this scabbard, and we got some bad guys. I'm assuming Knights Templars because of a badge that they wore with the Red Cross and everything in it. They stole it apparently, and dragons. Yeah, like that's happening next. So good stuff. They're at the coffin of King Arthur. They're going to try to raise him to bring Britain back together. I don't give this thing any justice. You need to read it yourself. As more ridiculous as it sounds, it works in this story, and it is just phenomenally great. I enjoyed that. Moving on. Oh yeah, the White Trees. This is good. Another quest type story. I'm starting to find myself enjoying these a lot more. Apparently, two kids that weren't supposed to be lovers but are lovers get kidnapped by some bad guys. Now these guys used to fight in a war against this other kidnapping nation, if you will. Um, and it's really kind of weird because there's some backlash between if our main hero here is a coward or not. We find out he's actually not. He's kind of a badass, but for some reason, his friend doesn't like him. Like something happened back in the day, and he didn't show back up to the war. These two are married right here, the elf and the cat-looking thing. Yeah, that's fine. They're both daddies to this girl. We do meet the mother of the daughter. This is interesting because this character right here, I'm really enjoying this character. Strong silent type, doesn't want to have a whole lot of conversation. Honestly, didn't want to go on the mission to begin with, but it is his son, so we get a lot of backflash or flashbacks on his relationship with his son, and it probably wasn't the best, to be honest. So he's kind of feeling guilty about all that. This is just a great read. I enjoyed this. It's your typical fantasy type story, but done very well, I thought. So yeah, we'll be picking up some more of that. Next, last but not least, in show. I'll tell you right now, in show, this is a good thing. This is basically a little girl gets released from home. Now, I have to use the word released because there is something unusual about her, supernatural, if you will. She can turn into a monster. And at the beginning of the story, we just see her as the monster. And then we get breaks of the monster in there. And then we see the little girl in these side stories where she's kind of running away to the carnival. And we don't get the connection until the very end. And they did a very good job of that. This thing is beautiful. We have very larger than life characters. We got funny banter going back and forth, great dialogue. It takes place in like the 1920s South, so and you definitely get that vibe from the entire thing. Carnies, freaks, the whole 9 yards, it's all in there. That is good stuff. So what is going on? Don't forget Blaster or Stash at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube, where we're going to review these comic books. I believe myself, Huey's Comics, and Spectacular Spider Grandpa should be on this Sunday. So definitely come by, swing by, check that out. Let us know what you think about the books that we are reviewing as well. We'd like to interact with you. Please do so. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And other than that, I got another video to do because I went to Zeno's Books today, which is a comic book store here locally that I deal with. And they are 44 years old today, that comic book store. So we went down there today. I got some stuff from that, another whole video that we'll be doing right after this one. So definitely check that out as well. Guys, other than that, I'll hopefully see you in Baltimore in October. If you're going, let me know. All right, guys. Take it easy. Bye.